Joined in studio by Joy Beckerman. Joy Beckerman Maher, actually. The whole thing in there. She is the president of Hemp Ace International and the Washington Hemp Industries Association. Joy has been promoting hemp as more than recreation or medicine, hemp as a building material, hemp as a source of nutrition. You can hear her speak and see her documentary, Bringing It Home, presented by Hemp Fest, Saturday, June 7th at Town Hall in Seattle. We put a link to the film and other upcoming Hemp Fest happenings at bobrivers.com. Joy Beckerman Maher, welcome to the Bob Rivers Show on 95.7 KJR.
Thank you so much. I'm really glad to be here. Thanks, guys.
It's good to have you, and I have so many questions.
Great.
This may be the first Hemp Fest I attend.
Excellent.
My recreational foray, which was a very more like an all-out life commitment, ended in 1989, so I haven't smoked hemp or pot. We used to call it hemp back then, so it's confusing now because hemp is like the stuff that doesn't get you high now, right?
I'm excited to tell that little botany lesson.
Yeah, but I mean, when I was in high school, we called it hemp.
Interesting.
I mean, that's how old I am. So here it is legal, and there's so much to learn and so many interesting opportunities out there that what you bring is a look into the world of hemp used not for its medicinal or recreational properties.
Which you can't, because industrial hemp is a completely separate cultivar.
Because it's male.
No, actually, that is not the difference.
That's not
at
true,
all.
because somebody told me that.
Isn't that interesting? There are male drug variety as well. So what we have is cannabis is the genus, sativa is the species.
Mm-hmm.
The L you often see associated with that is merely the last name of Carl Linnaeus. He's the Swiss botanist who invented taxonomy. So we can just drop the L
By
entirely.
the way, she has a sweet voice. I'd legalize whatever she's talking about. It doesn't matter.
Right? Is it making sense? to you
Yeah,
now?
she's just. How come they didn't put you in charge a long time ago?
You're something else, boy. You're hired, Bob.
All right.
Thank you.
You're a
check's in the
great.
mail.
You're a great spokesperson. Now, one of the things you handed me. Well, there's a couple of things. VoteHemp.com. Is this an organization for the whole country to get on board?
Yes.
Yeah.
The HIA.org, Hemp Industries Association, is national. I've just formed the Washington State chapter, and VoteHemp.com, closely associated with Hemp Industries Association.
And what if I understand correctly, what this is about is here we have a cash crop. Here we have a crop that can make all sorts of useful products that we don't have to import from China or somewhere else. And we have farmers struggling to make a living. This is easy to grow because it's a weed, hence the name of the popular Showtime series. And now that we have just seen, and I think in the last few days you can speak to this, news that the federal government is going to decriminalize going after hemp fields, we may have what people used to always talk about in high times. Hemp could make your shoes, dude, and things like that. And I never really bought them because they weren't as well spoken as
hippie.
you. So right now, we're at the forefront of a potentially huge new industry. It has more to do with the uses of this product that we're not aware of, correct?
Yes, indeed. And just so we get the accurate legal facts out there, indeed that they are separate cultivars. The drug variety marijuana is legal in this state. Industrial hemp is actually not.
It's still not legal.
On the books in this state.
But there was a story today about the federal government saying they were willing to overlook it. So are we behind the eight ball?
So and here's the details of that. So Section 7606 of the Farm Bill that was just signed into law by Obama on February 7th included an amendment that said in states where there is industrial hemp legislation on the books already, your departments of agriculture are now free to promulgate rules for research, test pilots, and plots without further state legislation. The HIA says Washington is one of those 10 states because the way that marijuana is defined, which is slightly inaccurate, but we don't take issue with it, in the recreational laws, de facto defined industrial hemp. The state legislature disagrees with us for the most part, and the Department of Agriculture does. What the feds did yesterday, the House, so this hasn't passed the Senate, but the House passed an amendment to the Department of Justice and DEA appropriations bill saying we will not fund the DEA for purposes of going after hemp fields in states where it's already on the books.
Right.
Again,
and so
we
if your
don't-
funding dries up, your narcs dry up. too.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, but your funding dries out. You can smoke it, though, right? Isn't that
Yeah.
usually how it works
You
out?
make rope out of it. All right. So what that boils down to is it's such a low priority for them. That
Correct.
It's going to stay that way, and we're going to sort of dip our toe in the hemp field. Yes.
Indeed, there are plants being planted. Even
Let's
as we
talk
speak.
about some of the hemp products. I was looking through the brochure. Some products that already exist. For example, I did not know about Hempcrete. How is that like concrete, and how is it different?
This is my favorite hemp product of the 50,000 products. Thank you for asking about Hempcrete. Hempcrete is pest resistant, rot resistant, mold resistant, fire resistant. It's an incredible thermal and vapor barrier. It is.
Can you build a deck out of this?
You certainly can, although it's not structural, so you're still
Okay.
going to have some framing. However, it is 8 times more earthquake resistant than concrete, and it's about 7 times lighter than concrete.
Can I have a hemp driveway?
Yeah, I wonder if you could. That would be an interesting one.
All right.
Eventually, we'll get there. Biggest
So what's
thing
it
about-
used for then primarily?
Mostly, although certainly people in the UK and other areas are using it just for straight up exterior walls and insulation. But for
In
us,
place of concrete when bricklaying and building a wall, that sort of thing?
yeah, absolutely.
There's
as
a
long
picture
as you
of something
still
that
have
looks
framing.
like that. Yeah. Okay. You have framing and you're putting a wall together and you use this to hold the bricks together.
Yes, but as insulation is what we'll want it for here.
And when I use the term brick, I'm referring to an actual
Yes,
brick.
We
you
know.
are.
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
All right. So what is thermo hemp insulation?
Thermo hemp insulation is another form of insulation that is just what we might refer to as hemp wool. So we use all the parts of the hemp plant. The outside are the bast fibers. The inside is the woody inner core, the hurd or shiv it's called. That's what we make Hempcrete out of. So those outer bast fibers are then combed and processed into something that looks almost like think of steel wool, only creamier colored.
All right. And it's
brought
got
some-
high insulating properties?
brought
You
some
brought some
stuff
in? You
in.
got some in your little
She has a
briefcase
I
there.
briefcase.
do.
Case.
Yes, I
You
at
are
least
like
have,
you are like Q on James Bond with
That's
your
right.
for
hemp,
real.
hemp tricks here.
So hemp wool is just, and it can be rolled in, and it comes just like the pink ugly stuff.
Can I see some?
Oh, absolutely. Please.
Toss it over.
You got it, mister. That is what we would call
Oh yeah,
some
that's
hemp
that's
fiber.
insulation. And is this not as bad as fiberglass? Does this not like?
It doesn't even they're just completely
Ah, it
opposite ends of
smells
the spectrum.
wonderful.
We've got, a
Actually, I
carbon-
put some of this in a bowl and have a cup of tea and sit and just smell it. It's good.
Yes, although you wouldn't get high. An entire hemp
I'm
field
into
couldn't
not
get
getting
you
high. I don't know if you got that part.
I will listen to you all the time. I
Okay.
know you are one sober gent.
I don't mind people getting high. The higher they are, the faster I move around them.
The higher they are, the funnier I sound.
So,
I
is-
know some pretty highly productive, folks who
and
who
by the way,
vibe.
yeah, so do I actually.
course.
Very many. Wow, this is cool stuff. So, all right, are we doing this in Washington?
Pardon me?
Are we growing these products in Washington yet?
We are not. In Whatcom County, some seeds are going in. That was just on the news. And I've spoken with some folks on the eastern side of the mountains. 2,600 acres is one gentleman is planning to grow. Now, they cannot be, we're going to have some issues here with outdoor grows for the drug variety. Again, oil seed and fiber variety of cannabis, that's industrial hemp. It's agricultural, low resin. Marijuana is the drug variety. It's horticultural, high resin.
Got it. And
Can't
what
be
I understand about the
cross-pollinated.
drug variety is they're keeping the grows indoors to keep track of things. The seeds are barcoded from seed all the way to package. Is that right?
Via software,
Yeah.
yes, from what I understand. That
That's
won't
the
be
weirdest
necessary
thing, and
with
we've never
industrial.
kept track of it. I mean, imagine if we had to barcode spinach. We've never done that.
I was very offended in the beginning that was happening, but it's not really the only crop that is monitored. This software was not invented for the drug variety. The software was invented for other crops too. So
What about alcohol? Is alcohol treated the same way?
no, actually, alcohol is quite different, which is why there's an awesome new initiative going out. If you see the petition, I believe it's 684 or 654 to take that law further.
So these things will evolve over time. Joe, I'm sure you were
Absolutely.
loaded with questions.
Well, one question from the audience, a guy who grows, and I believe the recreational part, he says, is there any place you can donate his fiber, the stuff that he's not cultivating.
I am so glad. Thank you. I get asked this question all the time, and I'm so grateful, and it's very thoughtful of people to want to donate their marijuana stocks for hemp. Marijuana, again, is not just in theory a different cultivar. It is a completely different cultivar. I cannot make paper or anything out of a marijuana stock. It's good for nothing but perhaps functional art or sculpture, but it is not industrial hemp.
Okay. It's a whole different thing.
It is truly and really. I'm not just saying
But
that.
the community spirit that arises
I love
out
it.
of their community and comes up with that question is a nice thing.
I love it. I'm very grateful.
Somebody else wants to know, is it true or just urban legend that 5 acres of hemp will make the same amount of paper as 25 acres of forest?
Interesting. So the real deal on that is that Leicester Dewey in 1916 came out with this incredible paper bulletin 404 from his research, which says that an acre of hemp produces 4 times more paper than trees. What a lot of folks, even folks who are educated in this sort of genus and species, don't realize is that what he meant was over a 20-year period. So if it takes a tree 20 years to grow and it produces a certain amount of paper, that same acre of hemp in that 20-year period.
So you keep reharvesting.
Correct. Will actually produce 4 times more paper than that acre of trees.
So Weyerhaeuser should just abandon trees.
You should go in and tell them that.
In fact, it's actually William Randolph Hearst and the patent that he obtained to make paper out of trees with a sulfuric acid process combined. It was basically a harmonic convergence of special interest, combined with DuPont receiving the patent for synthetic polymers for petroleum-based plastics that actually culminated into the Marijuana Tax Act of 37.
William Randolph Hearst, who never lived to see the day.
He didn't, but
did
I'm
not.
pretty sure that
He could
knew
see
what
it
he was
coming
doing.
generations into the future.
Well, they were already doing everything with hemp at the time.
That actually leads into a question that I have, which is that I have long thought that hemp had a strong lobby, but that there are stronger forces that saw you coming and have already been moving the pieces to be against you. Cotton, etc.
That was part of you're very wise.
Oh, thank you, Joy.
You're my favorite. Don't tell the other guys.
I will not say a word.
And let me tell you that indeed the cotton gin was actually that third piece of that harmonic convergence. The invention of the cotton gin.
Eli Whitney.
Yes, and there's a great book written by Dr. David West, who is really, I think, our foremost industrial hemp researcher here in the United States, called Fiber Wars, The Extinction of Kentucky Hemp, precisely the cotton.
Speaking of Kentucky hemp, they just put some in the ground this
They
week,
fought
right?
good and hard. It's because those amendments that were just passed yesterday were because of what happened in Kentucky. The DEA actually sat there and held up industrial hemp seeds that were waiting for the Department of Agriculture. And they've been released, but that's what inspired.
Now those seeds came from Italy. Why Italian hemp seeds?
Thank you for asking. They must believe that cultivar will grow particularly well in Kentucky. Now, Kentucky had our nation's foremost cultivars up until 1942. However, those seeds were not, and the entire germplasm was not preserved, including in Colorado, where we have a seed bank.
All right. Joy Beckerman Maher, quickly fire a lightning round here because the listeners have various questions. One is like, will Monsanto ruin the whole thing? They love to control seeds.
Thank you for asking. HB 1888, which is the bill in our legislation right now, sponsored by Representative Shea, specifically wants conventionally bred. Right now, that's the biggest thing in the market for hemp. We cannot have Monsanto. Our biggest marketability is that we are non-GMO, if not organic, and we are preserving that.
Okay. You brought in some hemp hearts. This looks like basically... well, it's fiber, basically. This is
It's
hemp. They should call this hemp lax,
Stick
right?
that in your smoothie.
Yeah.
Yes, or on a salad or a casserole. The highest form of digestible protein of all the seeds, nut, meats, eggs,
and
or
that's
fish on Earth.
That's the big advantage. It's got 2 grams of fiber, 9% of your daily requirement, but it has high protein, 8 grams of protein.
Check that out. And check out the essential fatty acids. It is the highest profile of essential fatty acids, omega-3 and 6 of any seed or nut on the planet. It is the perfect ratio.
Will
This
I
is-
fail a drug test if I use this?
Thank you so much for asking. You absolutely will not.
Thank you. Sounded like Will for a second.
Excuse. This is my excuse.
So many questions and products. Go quick,
One
Joe.
quick last one. Where can I buy one of these hemp scooters? One of these scooters made out of hemp.
Let's head off to the UK because they are, until we catch up, boy, they are the number one. Matter of fact, here I brought to show you my hemp plastic, hemp fiber briefcase.
Look at her briefcase. It's fascinating.
And indeed, the BMW 3 and 5 series door liners are made made with the same material in Germany.
Come on.
Why don't you follow, Joy? Why don't you follow? What's that big toy store in New York that was featured on Tom Hanks' movie?
Schwartz.
Why don't you follow an FAO, Schwartz thing with pot, and do a big FAO Schwartz like pot Fantasyland store in Seattle?
Hemp,
All
you
the
mean.
things.
Hemp, whatever. You know what I'm talking about.
I do, but I
Why
want to
don't
make
you
sure the
all
listeners
if
know.
because you know all of the maritourism is on his way here.
Indeed.
Why don't you have this ginormous gift shop that every single tour will have to stop
Gosh,
at?
would I love that. I owned the first hemp store in the state of New York in the early 90s, and so I was burnt out on hemp retail by 96. So we're into building materials now.
All right.
But I hope
That's the
someone-
business I want to be in. Joe, you and I should do a store.
Do a
Wanna
hemp
it?
store?
You have
Yeah.
a nice pair of hemp pants. You'll wear them every day of your life.
I'll just
20
use
years.
your face out front, kind of like you could be Colonel Sanders of
Just
the store.
put me on one of
This-
these little scooters.
This
you know?
building is made of hemp. The whole building could be made
Sure.
of hemp.
North
The car
Carolina.
could be made of hemp.
Awesome
Amazing
stuff.
fashion.
Joy Beckerman Maher. More information can be found online at bobrivers.com. Hempfest presents Bringing It Home documentary and Hemp Roundtable will be discussed at Town Hall, Seattle, Saturday, June 7th. And Hempfest is then, right?
Hempfest is actually the third weekend in August every
Oh.
year for 23 years. But
I'm
going
going to be at Hempfest this year.
I'm so glad I was.
Are you going to be there?
You better believe it.
What do you do? Do you stand up there and talk for hours? What do you?
I wish they would let me. I hope they give me at least 8 minutes, but I'll be at the Hemp.
Because you're like
Industries Association booth.
the feature attraction, I would think.
Gosh, your check is in the mail. Do
All
not
right.
cash it. But
It's
I'll
very
give
nice
it.
to meet you, Joy.
Thank you.
Joy Becker.